What's up guys, it's Scoopman5000. Today we're back for another action figure review, and not only are we looking at the Crow Robin and the Batman Who Laughs, but we are also looking at Batman from Dark Knight's Metal, as well as Superman the Infected. That's right, the entire Merciless Build-A-Figure wave and the Build-A-Figure Merciless himself. So a feat that's never been done on this channel before. We're going to be looking at 5 figures in one video, and I guess you guys are going to have to let me know how that turns out. But you can see the packaging again. So this is the front on Batman and Superman. We'll go back to Robin and Batman Who Laughs to get a better look at that. These boxes are a little bit bigger to accommodate for the Build-A-Figure pieces. And here you can see the back of Batman Who Laughs and Robin, and as well as the back of Batman and Superman. All 4 characters are going to be coming with the figure stands. We're used to these at this point. DC logo, not going to go much into them. They're also coming with trading cards, and you can see all 4 trading cards here laid out. Some really awesome Capullo artwork on some of these from the Dark Knight's Metal event. Really all these figures tie into that. The Batman Who Laughs comes from the Hawkman tie-in comics, and Superman comes from Year of the Villain, but it's all happening during the same time as Dark Knight's Metal, and that's where these guys are going to end up on your shelf. And these figures also are going to be coming with the pieces to build the Merciless. So here you can see the pieces that come with Robin and Batman Who Laughs, and then here you can see the pieces that come with Batman and Superman. But we're going to look at Merciless at the end of the video. For now, starting with the actual characters in the wave, we're going to go in the order that they are on the box. And that starts with Robin, or this is the Crow version of Robin. These are Gotham orphans that the Batman Who Laughs has corrupted and turned them into his army to kind of taunt Batman. Really cool part of that storyline. Now for this guy, he has 3 different head sculpts. This is the one that I got. It's actually my favorite one, so I'm glad this is the one that came. I'm going to either have to do some in-person or eBay hunting to get the right heads. I at least want the 3 unique versions. But for accessories, the Robin is going to come with one. That's a very important one. That's his chain. So that's going to attach right on his neck. And we're going to do it live here. So you can see the chain has no kind of clip on or anything like that. It's a real chain. Nice little accessory. What you actually kind of have to do, you tilt the head back, and he's got the little collar here. This is not attached to the upper neck, so you kind of just peel it forward. It's very difficult to do, and especially on camera, but we're going to go for it. You see I'm kind of peeling it forward. And after just enough difficulty, we got the chain on the Crow Robin. The look is complete. And now when you go ahead, you bring in your Batman Who Laughs figure. This is the wave 1. We'll go ahead, you kind of just put it in his hands. So now you have Robin on a leash. But getting all that out of the way and getting closer into the aesthetic of the figure. And as always with McFarlane, really awesome, really clean paint apps on this guy. And another decision where it's kind of odd that we're getting a Robin Crow version before we got a real Robin. But I think we're actually getting a Damian Wayne already in the works. So it isn't going to be that big of a deal. And then moving down, it's a very classic inspired Robin suit. Unlike any of the recent ones, this is ripped straight out of the 60s or the 70s version of Robin, but with some more muted colors and then some stitching effects here make it look more like he's a little goblin. And his whole skin is bleached white, but it's kind of an off-white. It's gray. It's got dirt in it, a bit of a wash over the sculpt, so you can see kind of the cracked skin that he's got. So almost really like a zombified, corrupted little demon version of a Robin. The cape here is pre-posed, which is the normal for McFarlane's, but luckily it's small, it's out of the way, it's really not going to bother anyone. It's got some nice tattered weathering effects on it as well. So aesthetically, a very good figure. When you get into the articulation of this guy, that's where he's got some weak points, but he does have some good points too. So on the head sculpt, you got a decent range. He's looking just about all the way up. He doesn't really go down as much because of the sculpt here. Really isn't anywhere for it to go. He tilts pretty excellent. So that's really good on the head for the most part. If you want him in like a lunging pose or something like that, you could definitely accomplish it. And despite what it looks like, the torso is also really well articulated. So you got tilt that goes absolutely insane. I think it could even, oh my God, there goes his leg. All right, so you want to be careful with your Robin, I guess. But the idea here is that he's got a pretty amazing range of motion in the torso. Goes back, there's like a ball here and a ball here, so he really can crunch just about as much as you want him to, but I'm going to be more delicate now that his leg just popped out. For the arms, it's got hinge and swivel. There is actually a bicep cut here where the end of the shirt meets. It's a single jointed elbow, but it's deep enough where it's going past 90. And then you have the McFarlane ball joints at the hands, but because of this sculpt here, it's a bit weird posing them, but I guess there really isn't much for his hands to do anyway. So it looks like the legs are actually the same McFarlane system, but just a little bit different, and this rubber piece kind of does hinder it. And as you saw, my leg just fell out on me. The knees are single jointed, and they're also pre-posed where he's almost in this kneeling position. They're never going to go fully straight. So the leg does kick back that much, but let's say that's about 90 when you accommodate for the bend in the sculpt. And then similar to the gloves, the shoes just have a little bit of limited articulation, but it's the same ball joints on the bottom as well as the toe hint. And that's going to do it for the Crow Robin. So now we'll go ahead and do some comparison. And for some oddballs to start with, we got the Teen Titans animated Cyborg and the Wave 1 Nightwing, just to see how he looks with some characters that aren't labeled Dark Knight's Metal. And then for some other Wave 1 characters, we got the Batman 1000 and the Batman Who Laughs, and these definitely all look good together. And then here he is with the Dawnbreaker and the Murder Machine, and with the Red Death and Grim Knight. And with that, let's move on to Batman from Dark Knight's Metal. And here's Batman, and for his accessories, he's getting the 2 battle axes that he wielded on the cover of Dark Knight's Metal. An iconic image, in my opinion. Really awesome look at Batman. And so that's exactly how he's going to be on my shelf, is posed up with these battle axes. You get a better look at them in the frame here. Really good sculpt on these, and there's just enough paint where they look good. If you want it to be realistic to the cover, he should really be a little bloody in the mouth, and these should have some blood on them, but I could see why they wouldn't do that. And say what you want about McFarlane making way too many Batman figures, but they just get better every single time. And this Batman and another Batman we're going to be looking at very shortly are just true examples of that, because when you go ahead and you bring in Wave 1 Batman, now mind you, this is more Jim Lee Batman, and this is a Greg Capullo Batman, but just the difference in proportion and aesthetic and just how he stands, the cape, everything, the head sculpt, it all just looks so much better on this brand new figure. And it really shows that when you take an artist's style, that McFarlane Toys can really translate it well into a figure. Because this is a very Capullo looking Batman figure, more so than any other figure that we've gotten so far from anything like DC Collectibles, and also from Mattel. I think the only things you can compare this kind of sculpt and detail to is maybe the statues, but that's obviously going to be more premium. And I even wanted to bring in a Mattel figure just to get the comparison here, where this is basically depicting the same costume and pretty much the same artwork, and you could just see the night and day difference here. Obviously, if you prefer 6-inch scale, you're going to be stuck with that version from Mattel, and I still love the Mattel figure. I honestly think it's one of their better Batmans, but if anything, it just shows how impressive this new one is. So we'll go ahead and take him out. Actually, you can notice on that one, the purple cape underneath is missing on this figure, and that's about the only thing that I have to complain about. But getting a closer look, the head sculpt, absolutely Greg Capullo's Batman right there, even at the profile, absolutely perfect. Where the head sculpt on the first Batman was pretty bad and pretty small, here I think this works absolutely perfect. And I'm going to gush over this figure more than any figure in this wave, and it's a Batman, so if you're someone who thinks McFarlane's making too many Batmans, I guess this video isn't for you. But really awesome grimace, awesome head sculpt on here. I love the expressive faces on action figures when they do it right, and this is a good example of that. And as always, the paint is awesome on the eyes and the face, everything like that. There's no scuffs or anything like that. The cape is in a very dramatically posed way. I guess it's to recreate that Dark Knight's Metal artwork from the cover, so I don't hate it in that regard, but I do wish that maybe they had swappable capes or something like that. That's probably the main thing people have been modifying on these McFarlanes, is giving them cloth capes, which I definitely would prefer. But when you're going off specific artwork and specific poses, this is definitely going to work. But I could just see how this is annoying if you want to have them fighting or something like that. And then the suit here, while you would just think it could just be a gray suit, there's plenty of detail and even some paint on here when you get into the biceps here, the lower torso, and then some of the inner workings of the legs even. And then down to his gauntlets have this really awesome leathery texture to them. They're a bit of a softer piece that goes over. And even looking at sculpt like the elbow pad here with the studs on it looks really great. The utility belt, the bat symbol, and there's even some tatters at the legs here. I think that maybe should be skin tone, but I guess it could just be layers of armor. He's even got little bat shapes on his knee pads here. The same kind of leathery texture to the boots, but overall just a really awesome Capullo aesthetic that they accomplished here with this figure. For articulation, the only thing that's a little bit weird is the head sculpt here, because there is nothing at the head, even though there is a bit of a seam. This is completely glued, and the articulation actually comes from the bottom of the neck. It's almost like something you'd see on like a 1/6 scale figure. So with that, the head doesn't really look up too much, but it does look down decently, and the tilt isn't really there either, but you can kind of accomplish it. It's a bit weird to work with, but as long as it looks down so you can get him in that pose from the metal cover, that's about all you need right there. So really good on that. There could have been some more articulation here, but for the rest of the body, it's all pretty good, pretty standard at this point from McFarlane. You got the butterfly joints, the hinge and swivel, you get the bicep cut, the double jointed elbow, and then the ball joints at the wrist. Torso is the double ball, so it's going back that much, forward that much, so pretty decent on that regard. Of course, you're getting tilt with that. The McFarlane leg system here, he kicks back decent enough, forward about the same, He's got the double jointed knee, and then the McFarlane ball joints at the foot, as well as the toe hinge. So that's going to cover Batman. So now what I'm going to do is grab as many Batmans as I have, and let's do some comparisons. So here he is with the Wave 1 figures, Batman the Animated Series, and Batman from Detective Comics 1000. You can see he stands taller than both of them by just a little bit, but these two are consistent enough in height. If anything, he just looks like he's a bit more armored up. And then here he is with the Arkham Asylum Batman and the White Knight Batman. And again, just some very unique styles of Batman. So despite we're getting too many Batmans and all that, they are different enough, I think. We haven't gotten one that's been too similar to a previous Batman figure, if that makes any sense. Here he is with the Grim Knight and the Murder Machine, and then with the Red Death and the Dawnbreaker. And here he is with the Wave 1 Batman Who Laughs, the Crow Robin that we just looked at, and the Devastator. And with the comparisons out of the way, we'll move on to the third figure, and that is the Batman Who Laughs. And for the Batman Who Laughs, this is the Sky Tyrant version, and so his main accessories are the large wings, and these things have an amazing wingspan, maybe even longer than the Hellbat suit, which has a pretty awesome wingspan in its own right. But you can get a look at these here. I'll do a panning shot, and really just awesome stuff by McFarlane. These just peg right in the back. But for the rest of the review, I'm just going to be looking at the figure like this, because all that probably wouldn't even fit in the frame. So we'll go ahead and look at his head sculpt, and comparing him to the original, you can see this is a maniacally laughing version, rather than just a grin, I guess. And while we have him like this, I'm curious to see what exactly is reuse. It looks like the arms are reused, but not the hands. These are brand new hands that he's got, but definitely at least the upper arms are reused. And then it looks like the legs are also reused. Even some deco hit right here with the buckles on his shoe is actually not even painted on the new version. But that leaves us with a whole lot of new. Obviously, like I said, the head sculpt here, the visor that he wears with the studs on it, it's a lot more dirtied up looking than the first version, and really just an awesome facial expression here, or at least a mouth expression because his face is covered up. And like with the first release, this entire overcoat is one big rubber overlay. He's got this Hawkman armor in the front here. I didn't read the Hawkman tie-ins. I just have all like the trades of Dark Knight's metal. So all this stuff might have actually happened a bit after, during Year of the Villain or something like that. But basically, this is just a point in the story where he just gets the Sky Tyrant power, gets the wings, and it just creates a really cool image, basically. That's what a lot of metal is just creating cool images, but I don't have any issue with that. It gets this cool action figure. So the iconic Hawkman harness here, the little belt piece, goes over the usual Batman Who Laughs trench coat. This one has holes in it. It's ripped up way more than the first version. So there's almost some continuity here between the first release Batman Who Laughs and this one. This one's been through a bit more battle. I just wish that he had the silver paint on the belt buckles here that are all across it, and it's on the original figure. If you look even at the top of his shoulder pauldrons, you see the silver deco here and on the boots, like I said. That's the only thing unfortunate about this, but other than that, still a great figure. And I'm honestly pretty happy to have two Batman Who Laughs in such a short period of time, because he becomes such an iconic character in that amount of time. And so for him to go from no figures at the start of this year to now two, and two pretty separate versions that I think you can warrant getting both. The first version is going to be more of an iconic, every use version, I guess you could say, and this is just a really singular event where he had these Sky Tyrant wings, and he's going to make for a really great display. To go over his articulation, the head is on a pretty impressive ball joint, and then there's also the neck. So looks back that much. It honestly could go even farther if it wasn't for this collar. And the same thing goes for the front. It's the jaw that's actually preventing it from going down, but the articulation is there. There's tilt that works just about as well. There is butterfly joint, but it's not particularly usable because of these big shoulder pauldrons. You get the hinge and swivel at the shoulder, the bicep cut, the double jointed elbow, and the ball joints at the wrist. There's articulation in the torso. It's actually a little bit worse than Batman Who Laughs from the first wave, but it's the same problem where it's just this rubber piece limiting it, so it crunches forward that much, back that much, not really much at all, but you do get some tilt, I guess. You get the McFarlane system at the legs. He's not really kicking back that much because of his trench coat. Forward, he can go a little bit. He's got the double jointed knees that are good. He's got the ball joints at the foot as well as the toe hinge. And that does it for our Sky Tyrant Batman Who Laughs. So now we'll go ahead and do some comparison. So we'll bring back Metal Batman and Crow Robin. Good scale all around here. Maybe Batman Who Laughs should be on par in height with this version of Batman, but it's not really a big deal. And then here he is with the Wave 1 Batman Who Laughs and the Grim Knight. And obviously these two have a good connection from the Batman Who Laughs limited series. Here he is with the Red Death and the Dawnbreaker. And then finally, here he is with the Murder Machine and the Devastator. And now let's move on to the fourth and final figure of this wave, and that is Superman the Infected. And here's the Infected Superman. For his accessories, he's just getting a pair of alternate hands, which are these kind of maniacal, crunched up fingers, I guess you could say. Honestly, really good looking. That's how I'm going to be displaying him. But on the figure, you just get these fisted hands. But taking a look at this Superman, I think what you have to do is bring in the Wave 1 Superman. This is a more, iconic Action Comics Superman right here. And you can get the comparison really more so on the bodies here. Looking at it, it almost looks exactly like Bizarro, and we're actually getting a Bizarro on this body mold pretty soon. But really what sticks out is just how much wider he is and how much better the proportions are even still. And this Superman right here is probably one of my favorite figures McFarlane has made on the left here. But even still, I would buy this head sculpt on this body with this color scheme, if that makes any sense. Really awesome upgrade to an already good Superman figure, I think. Obviously, this one's the Infected. It's not going to be usable as a base Superman, but I think we're going to be getting some use out of this guy for sure. And then going over his aesthetic, the face here is Jokerized in a way. It's got this wash over to look shadowed on the front. And I did not read Year of the Villain or The Infected, whatever story this came from. Like, it's Dark Knight's Metal adjacent, but it's not in the Dark Knight's Metal trades. And this guy does not appear in them. And even on the packaging, he doesn't have the Dark Knight's Metal logos, but it's still adjacent enough, and it fits into that same idea where there's these dark multiverses, and Superman, Batman, every character is corruptible in those universes. So this guy is going to have a home with the Metal Knights because he represents the same thing, that this is a Superman that's been corrupted, that's gone bad from the dark multiverse. And honestly, it looks like Bizarro. If the symbol was backwards, this would be a Bizarro figure, basically. I guess also the color scheme should be a bit more purple here, but really awesome, really evil looking face sculpt here. It looks exactly like a Superman that's been infected by like a Joker or some kind of similar toxin like that. Just has that almost like a Tim Burton Joker grin right here, and the black wash over the teeth and everything like that, and as well as around the eyes, but then with the bright white solid eyes. So just really menacing, creepy looking Superman face on this. But at the same time, it still does capture the likeness of Superman in the face shape and the hair and everything like that. So that's really good. The skin tone is like a bright peachy. It's almost human, but at the same time, you could definitely tell something sickly about it. The cape here, as always, it's pre-posed, but it's pretty well done. It's very light, so it doesn't affect the weight of the figure at all. And I don't know if this is intentional, but there's like some scuffing right here, and it actually helps the look, so I don't mind that, even if it's a factory mistake. The only thing that's odd looking to me is the logo here. It just looks a bit uneven. I guess it goes with the aesthetic, but I don't know if that was on purpose or if that's just how this logo was kind of sculpted on here. So it just looks a bit warped, especially at the bottom and the top, you could see. But the paint is still very clean on here. I actually can't even tell if this one's a separate piece or paint, so good on McFarlane. And for the body, it's like a purplish blue, and there might even be some very light wash. It looks like it right here, if you can kind of see that. And there's some really great suit texture, kind of fabric look to the front here. The arms are pretty smooth. You do get these kind of wrist gauntlets. And then the legs are pretty smooth, as well as the boots. So there's almost like a contrast here of a pretty iconic looking Superman, just with some off colors, and this horrible maniacal looking face sculpt definitely gives a very uneasy look. Going over his articulation, oh well, his head came right off, so we'll put it on, but getting it back on, the head's going to go back that much, going to go forward that much, again with the jaw blocking the forward. It's going to have tilt. Torso is double bald, so it's going back that much, and forward that much. Not really much at all, actually. There's some really great butterfly joints here. You get the hinge and swivel at the shoulder, the upper bicep cut, the double jointed elbow, and then the ball joints at the wrist. You get McFarlane's leg system again. You get the double jointed knee. You get the ball joint at the boot, as well as the toe hinge. And finally, let's do some comparisons with Superman. So here he is with the Devastator, and to bring back one of my other favorite Mattel figures, this is Superman Doomed. So another story, this time where Superman was infected by the Doomsday virus instead of more like a Joker virus. It's still really cool to see these two together, and also these two being amalgamations of Batman and Superman's villains. Here you can see him with the wave that we just took a look at, a very excellent wave assortment from McFarlane Toys. And then I'll just bring back the rest of the Dark Knight's metal team. You can see how he's going to look alongside these guys on your shelf, and like I said, that's where this Superman is going to end up on my display, just because this is where he fits in the best. But with that, it's finally time for our main event, and that is the Merciless Build-A-Figure. And now that we're looking at the Merciless, we got to bring the camera back. We got to pan up a bit, because this guy is absolutely massive. And I actually think too tall, and that's my main complaint with it. Now, I know it's a Build-A-Figure and they want to give value, but when you go ahead and you bring in Devastator, this is just not right. These should definitely be flipped. Let's say we'll bring in Batman Who Laughs from Wave 1, just to get some relative scale here. It'd make a lot more sense if the Merciless was this height, where he's just taller, but he still looks like human. And then you took Devastator and made him this height, because Devastator is basically Doomsday, and he should be towering over everybody, while this is just a guy in a suit of armor. And if you look at panels from the comic, it definitely should be flipped, the heights here. But I'm going to try to not really focus on that, even though that does kind of bother me, because the Devastator, while he was short, he's still taller than the rest of them. But now you have this guy who's just absolutely massive. He almost looks like he's in a completely different scale, in my opinion, when you put him next to the other Metal Knight. But that being said, I can't fault it for anything aesthetically, because this really is a beautiful sculpted, beautiful painted, just so much attention to detail here. You can see his main accessory is the gold sword, but we'll go ahead and just try to get a deep dive into him right here. So the head sculpt here, really awesome. The bat wings up top. The whole story behind the Merciless is that it's Ares. He went and created a helmet that was so powerful that he destroyed basically everything. He killed Wonder Woman, and this version of Batman was kind of in love with Wonder Woman. So what he did, he took the helmet against her advice. He killed Ares, but then he became kind of power crazy, obsessed with war, as Ares is. And with this helmet, he was able to just kind of conquer everything. And with the other Metal Knight universes, you know, his universe was going to collapse. So Batman Who Laughs scooped him out of there at the last moment, and he was alongside the Metal team. But this is the iconic helmet here, I guess the Batman version of it, with these awesome bat wings up top. Just a little bit warped, I guess, in the packaging, but it's not too bad. It's actually a pretty solid rubber, more than I actually expected. So they're going to be hard to warp, actually. You're going to have to use some heat if you have some shape issues with that. But a really cool, I guess, pearlescent blue across this entire figure, which is just really awesome. It's going to look great on the shelf. Metallic blue, I should say. You get a fur collar around here, which could use some wash, but really a minor detail in the grand scheme of this figure. Of course, the logo here is Wonder Woman, and obviously Wonder Woman was a huge part of the story of the Merciless, so it's Batman and Wonder Woman's logo combined. You get even more of kind of a bat shape to the chest logo here, and then there's even like a chainmail you could see at the shoulder here underneath, some studded bracers, really amazing gauntlet right here, with kind of a wash over to look like rusted or battle damaged. And he's got these claws right here. You can see I got the sword in it. And unlike the Azrael Batman, these claws aren't separate pieces, so I didn't have any issue with these feeling like they were going to break off. You could see more kind of chainmail armor look to the torso here. And then here he's got this loincloth. In the wind, he's got some more armor around his waist, a skull, you got chains hanging over here. One thing that would have put this over the top is using real chain on this, like you did with the Crow Robin, but you just get the soft rubber, and then just the classic Ares look for the legs here, and as well as the boots. It's a really big, imposing, incredible Build-A-Figure really, but just not the right scale. With that, we're going to go over articulation. So the head is going to go forward that much and down that much, and then it does get some rotation. These shoulder armors are actually ball jointed in, so they can rotate when you're doing posing with the figure. You can get it out of the way, so that's good. You got all sorts of rotation at the torso. It's double balled, so it's going back that much, forward that much. You got butterfly joints, hinge and swivel at the shoulder. Doesn't look like a bicep cut. You do get a single jointed elbow that's going just a little bit shy of 90, and then the ball joints at the wrist. He's got the same leg articulation. He does have an upper thigh cut, but it's a bit weird due to the shape of the leg texture here. He's got a single jointed knee going that far, and then he's got the ball joints and the toe hinge. So really impressive articulation. You're not really sacrificing much articulation, if any at all, and you're getting a way bigger and way more detailed figure than we're used to. And that's it for the Merciless. And now we're going to go ahead. We're just going to bring in every figure we can in the frame just to get a comparison and a final thoughts on this wave. And overall, that's going to do it. I just squeezed every metal figure that I have, and I'm pretty sure this is everything so far. The only metal figure that we're waiting on now to complete this collection is going to be the Drowned, as well as the gold variant of Red Death. But this really is an accomplishment by McFarlane Toys. In the first year, they're really able to just complete an entire line of characters from an event like this, and I just hope they put the same amount of effort, detail, and commitment to completing that with the teams that they've already established, like the animated Justice League, like with the White Knight, things like that, because when you make a display like this, and obviously they're going to be posed up and things like that, this really is something special, and probably the best DC figures that we've had in probably 10 years or more. And as for the 4 figures in this wave and the Build-A-Figure, so it's the Infected Superman, the Crow Robin, Batman Who Laughs, and the Batman, probably 4 of the finest additions yet for this McFarlane line. And the Merciless, he's just way too tall, but you're getting a lot of value, and I can't argue with that. So overall, really impressive stuff by McFarlane, and I would say jump on these figures while you can, because I got a feeling that when they're gone, they're going to be something special, something that people are going to be hunting for a long time. But I'm going to leave it off with some pictures. I'm going to try to get some pictures done of all this chaos, and you can see more of that at Instagram, scoopman_5000. If you guys enjoyed this review, let me know in the comment, and until next time, I'll see you guys in the next action figure review.